Welcome to the Shiftwork Athlete Podcast. We connect with shift workers conquering life challenges and chasing big fitness goals. The goal of this podcast is to inspire and motivate our shiftwork community to stay fit and stay healthy with such a unique lifestyle. Okay, we are recording. All right. So Katelyn, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. This is my first ever podcast, so you are breaking the ice. I'm nervous. You're nervous. This is fantastic. So everybody, please, I would love for you to meet Katelyn Spencer. We are, I guess you would say we're not co-workers because you ended up working at F45 before me. But I was Katelyn's, or after me. Yes, that's right. I was her coach when I first started there. She was one of the first members, I think, was like so openly excited to meet me. And then next thing you know, I leave F45 and she became a F45 coach. So Katelyn, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you for that. So I'm Katelyn. I'm 28 years old. Like Spencer said, I am an F45 coach, but I'm also a nurse. So I am a shift worker. I've been a nurse for 6 years now. I currently work in the emergency department, and I've been there for a little over 3 years now. I've hopped around a little bit at the start of my career, but I've been in emergency for a little bit now, which I really love. Fast paced, lots going on, never boring, which is fitting for my personality. And then, I love fitness, exercise, always have. I grew up doing different sports and really enjoyed F45. And then it just kind of became something that I had been offered, had kind of passed at the time. It was before actually the whole COVID thing happened that I was offered to try it. Had passed at the time, and then kind of decided, you know what, no, this is something I really want to do and try, and took the leap.
Awesome. All right. So let's just roll it back. Let's talk a bit about nursing. What got you into the career of becoming a nurse and an ER nurse as well? Or was that something that just kind of happened with you going through the steps?
Yeah, I would say becoming an ER nurse, I had probably when I was going through school, I would have never thought that I would have worked in emerge, just because it's on the outside looking in kind of intimidating. When I was growing up, I didn't actually have any plans to be a nurse at the start. I had, like I say, I was really competitive in gymnastics, and I was seeing a physiotherapist. And I actually thought maybe physiotherapy was going to be something like just something in the healthcare field. I really liked that. And as I went along through high school, I kind of just stumbled on, it was like an extended family member who was a nurse and was talking about it. And then I was like, you know what? No, this sounds more like actually what I want to do. I want to be involved directly with patients and helping them. And so then I went off to school, and it was kind of, just like I say, fell into it. There was no one in my immediate family or any friends or anything that were nurses, but it was fitting for me.
Amazing. What was schooling like? How long was that?
I went to Nipissing in North Bay, and it's 4 years.
Wow. 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when I know nothing, so I am a sponge. You're learning about when it's like to become a nurse.
The best thing about nursing school, I have found anyways, because I'm, again, like I say, I'm like a busybody. I need to be doing things. Every semester you get a clinical placement. So really, when you're going through 4 years of school, you get placements. They give you everything, a little bit of taste. So I had, in my second year, I think it was, labor and delivery. They show you mental health. They show you surgery. They show you a general medicine unit. My final placement was actually the recovery room, which is another area that eventually maybe I'd actually even go back to, because it was very, very interesting as well. Lots to do as patients come out from surgery. You're helping them recover off the anesthetic and medications, controlling their pain, watching for any, adverse side effects to anesthetic and stuff like that. So that was a really cool experience as well. And I think that was how it led me to have my first job, which was at the Juravinski on the orthopedic unit. And it was post-op patients. So again, it was kind of that similar idea. It was a lot of, even though I was a nurse, you still are involved in their recovery and their physiotherapy, because they've just had a knee replacement or a hip replacement or recovering from a broken femur. So you're helping them get up, mobilize, teaching them how to use their walker, their cane, their crutches, like all that kind of stuff. So I was there for probably a year and a half. And I really enjoyed that job. But then I just had decided, I want to expand and learn a bit more. So while I was working, I did a couple of critical care courses, which are just added sort of online classes to learn your cardiac monitoring and more critical medications. And then I got a job in the intensive care unit at the ICU. And I was there for about a year before I moved down to the ER.
Wow. So the education portion of it is pretty broad, I guess you can say, because you could kind of just go into any sort of category. But the nice thing about being a nurse is you could really niche down.
Absolutely.
You could really find something that you could just put your mind into and learn as much as you want until, we all go through, I think, different chapters in our life where we get really committed to something. We love it. And it could either be a long-term thing or you're like, okay, I hit my limitation with education in this sector. Now I would like to advance and move on to something else. So it's funny too, because when you're talking about working with patients, was it called
the orthopedic unit, or post-surgery.
Post-surgery, yeah. So when they're going through their rehabilitation phases there, you're already kind of like a personal trainer because you're guiding them. Yeah, you're educating them. You know what I mean? Like it respects being an F45 coach so well because you also have built that awareness with connecting with members on not a level of like necessary motivation, but understanding what they're feeling, and what they're experiencing when they might have like a little niggle, something that's bothering them, or, they might feel uncomfortable with a certain movement. You now have a good, clear understanding of how you can kind of slow down the exercise, give them a modification and give them a much enjoyable experience with the exercise. So that's pretty cool. I never even thought of that, how nursing, depending on what category you go down, can definitely respect being a coach. That's really cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you for sharing that. Let's get into, before you got into nursing, were you aware about how the shifts were going to work, or were you just kind of like, I'll take it for what it is and roll the punches?
I think you can also attest to this. Like, I'm sure when you started your job and they were like, yeah, you're going to have night shifts. You're like, okay, a night shift. Sure. You don't really, I had never, although it's funny because everybody in my day-to-day life knows I am very much a grandma. Like 10 p.m. I've had my tea. I'm in my pajamas. Like, I am going to bed. Like, I don't stay up late at all. And I was always that way. So a lot of people on the outside probably would have been like, oh, you're going to really struggle with night shifts. And I absolutely do. I had no idea just how bad they would be, I think, until you get going and working them. When you're going through school, it's a little bit different, because they pretty much, until your fourth year last placement, so you're only like 4 months working alongside a nurse, and you're working full time for the last 4 months. The rest of the time is you have school and you have like 2 days a week, but they're never night shifts. They keep you on a straight day kind of a schedule. Okay. So you really only get a taste of nights the last 4 months. And then even then, right, like it's not quite the same because you're paired with another nurse. You don't have that full responsibility. You don't have like, I guess, I don't know what the word would be, but the full experience, let's say, of actually working and being a nurse and taking on the responsibility, making sure that you're focused, right? Like there was always someone that was above me. Like I had to know what I was doing, but I really wasn't in charge. Obviously, there was somebody who I was shadowing. So I found going from school to actually working my own shifts completely different. And when I first started, I would say it took me probably a good 3 years, just given how you climb the seniority ladder, to get a full-time position. So when I was part-time, my shifts were all over the place. I would do 2-day shifts, a night shift, turn back around, a day after and do a day shift, have 4 days off, do 3 night shifts, turn back around and do a day shift. Like there was no consistency. They were all over. And I was also in a $30,000 of debt and just trying to work as much as I possibly could.
Absolutely.
So every time I got a call, I'd pick up a shift no matter what it was. So I would say, that was pretty brutal because I would turn myself up and down all the time.
Just to work. Okay. So at the time that you were going through your part-time phase before you became full-time, what was your health and fitness like? Did that take a back seat, or were you able to still really put in the efforts like you are now?
No, definitely. And I would say, definitely not. I would say, I would think my training has also really, since I joined F-Work, I've become way more consistent, way more like my health and everything really, I shifted more to that as a priority. When I first started working, I just had a good life membership, and on my days off, I would go sometimes. I might do a body pump class, but really in terms of even my nutrition, it really wasn't something that I focused on. I was living at home. I wasn't really buying my own food, the things that, now that I'm like, no, I really would like to eat this and that. And so you kind of just, whatever's in the fridge at home, I lived in I have 3 other siblings and my mom. So just whatever's in the fridge is what you kind of ate. And, I would say, no, I wasn't, it's definitely shifted once I had gotten a nice full-time schedule. So I work now a 4-on-5 schedule or 4-on-5 off schedule. So I do 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, 5 off. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I know we were talking before and how you do the continental. And I have done that when I first got a full-time position. It was a temporary, and it was the 2-3 line. And then very shortly after, I got a full-time permanent, and it was the 4-5. And it's the best schedule. Much easier to, I wouldn't say maintain a proper sleep schedule, because that would be the only part of my health that I'm terrible at. And we'll get into that is my sleep. I'm horrible, but I think it's way more easier for me to maintain a training schedule, a meal prepping schedule, better nutrition. Just all of that, it really makes a difference.
Okay. It's interesting. So Erin just started her ride outs, and she's currently on the same schedule as you are. And seeing her schedule where she goes from the 2 days complete and then into a night shift the next following day, like, I don't know if that's better for my personal point of view. Like, I don't know if I would like that. I think everybody's different, and when you adapt to a certain schedule, you make the best of it, right? So maybe if I tried it, I don't know. Because then I guess in a way you're kind of getting those 2 night shifts out of the way. They're done. You don't see them again for, I'm assuming about a week or so, right?
Exactly.
Where for me, yes, I see my night shifts more, it's roughly about a week as well. So interesting. I would love to try it. Like, I wish there was an opportunity for me where I could, try different types of night shifts, but I can't. Yeah. But okay. So that's great. I'm happy to hear you have found more consistency with your eating and your training routine. It's funny. I just thought, like, people just go from school straight into a full-time position. I totally forgot that, there are different steps, like, part-time and doing shadowing and stuff like that.
Although, I mean, now it's much different now, like 6 years later, but at the start it was very much you had to work to get that full-time line. Now they're just giving them out left, right, and center.
Giving them out. Hey, you guys need the support. You guys need the support, especially with everything that's going on. So once again, thank you for your service and thank you for all your help. Okay. So, let's get into the sleep, because I find that's a big topic for a lot of people. Actually, before we keep moving forward, is there anything else you want to share with, becoming a nurse and the night shifts and stuff like that?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, even regardless, I know there's a lot of people, once you get going into shift work, they want to, maybe try to get to that Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I really don't mind it still at this stage in my life, to be honest. Like, I don't mind the shift work. If I had to balance out the pros and cons, I love having that, these weekdays off, right? A Monday, and we can sit and chat in the afternoon. Or I can go to the grocery store and not be filled on a Saturday morning, that kind of stuff. Like, I wouldn't trade that stuff. So I do still enjoy shift work.
That's encouraging. You know what? I'm there with you. I enjoy it as well. I don't think I'd go back. You know what? I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50.
It's hard to say. I know.
It depends on the day.
It's so true. I was going to say, when you're in the middle of those night shifts, you're like, oh my God, if I could just be Monday to Friday. So absolutely. We'll say 80% of the time I'm okay with shift work.
80%. I agree. Okay. So let's get into the sleep routine now. Paint us a picture of, like, what it looked like from when you started full time, because we already got a good understanding. Like, it was obviously very, spread thin with your part-time nursing. So let's see what it looks like now as like you've trying to establish that routine with sleep. What's it looking like?
Yeah. So it's still not something I'm very proud of. So you're not going to, I don't know if I'm going to be the poster child of sleep. Okay. Here. So this might not be, what we're after, but I do my best. So obviously, like you said, it's very difficult after you've done the 2-day shifts. And right now, so I've recently adopted a dog. So on my day shifts, I get up at 10 to 5 and I make sure I get her out for a really long, nice hour walk. And then I go into work. And then, I get home around 7. And we take her, the two of us, again for another good walk. Well, now I've been up since 4:50 in the morning. It's really a lot. I know a lot of people sometimes will stay up late that night to try to balance it out, right, so that they sleep in a little bit later the next morning. Now, I can't do that. I've tried to do that and it almost backfires. I'm an early morning riser, no matter what time I go to bed at. So if I force myself after going to bed, waking up that morning at 4:50 and then I go to bed at midnight, I'm still getting up at 7:38 in the morning. Like, that's just my routine. So I usually still try to get to bed at a decent time after I work that day shift. I'll still get up early in the morning, and I love having that sort of, I know it's not really a day off, but almost like, you have a little bit of time. You have that day off before you go in for a night shift. I love that because my 2-day shifts, I've tried to exercise or work out or get in training on those days. I find it very difficult for me.
Right.
After I've worked 12 hours. What time
do you start work at? Sorry?
7. I do 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay. And do you have to have sorry to interrupt you. Do you have to have a bumper period before you get in, like a half an hour before your shift kind of thing?
We're 15 minutes. So technically I start like 6:45.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess
to do our report and stuff like that.
Right. And your dog's a priority. And so I could see where it comes a little bit of a challenge to try to squeeze that workout in before work.
In the before. Yeah. So before we got her, sometimes I would as well. I could squeeze in a short workout. But it was sometimes difficult as well. Especially now with the last 2.5 years being F45, I wouldn't be able to get into those class times. Like, the earliest class normally is at 6 a.m. And that would just be pushing it way too. I wouldn't make it. And I think at one point they did have a 5 and I went to a couple of those, but again, it's still very rushed by the time I get home. It's 6 a.m, trying to shower, like all of it. It was just sometimes just too much. So, and then getting off at 7, they used to have a class that was 7:30 p.m. And I had done that probably for about 3 or 4 months after my day shifts. I'd go to the 7:30, but I found my workouts they lacked. Like, I didn't have the same drive, the same push. I really just didn't want to be there. And I exercise and work out and train because I love it, not because I have to. Right. And I really just had to kind of just remind myself of that. Because I was getting into that, like, you have to work out. You didn't work out today. And it really was like, no, this can just be a rest day. You've worked all day. You just worked 12 hours, like, go home, have something good to eat, go to bed, and, and just be okay with that. So usually my day shifts, I have just now over the last, like I say, now that I've been full time for about 3 years now, I've just have morphed into that now that I don't work out on my day shift. So that morning before my night shift, I will get up and I get good exercise in. Again, like I say, walk the dog, go for a workout at F45, come home, have a nice breakfast. I usually will do, whatever kind of errands. And then I do try to get a nap in. So I won't drink like any. This is where you're not going to be so happy. Usually I can get at the very most a good probably hour.
Okay.
An hour nap. And that's usually at about 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Is when I try to go down for a nap.
I'm not judging. You know what?
No, I know.
I give myself 30 minutes. I give myself 30-minute nap. I give myself 30 minutes. I'll share with you a bit about my night shift stuff as well after you're done explaining.
So,
but no,
because I've watched all your videos too and stuff, right? So I'm like, oh my God. So it makes me like self-conscious. I'm like, I really don't sleep very well. Because like I say, so 30 minutes to an hour. Sometimes I will get a nap in, and then, you just kind of stay up the rest of the day. So sometimes if I don't get my nap in as well, like, I'm up for almost 24 hours by the time you get off.
That's a long day.
7 a.m. the next morning. And then again, the same thing kind of happens. I'll come home. I've played around with that as well. I used to sometimes just like come in and shower, get right into bed before 8 a.m. But I find it's best. I sleep better actually. So I come in, I walk the dog, have a shower, have it like a peppermint tea or something, like non-caffeine tea, just something just to unwind, like almost just really treating my morning like it's me before getting ready for bed, you know?
Okay.
So, and I usually will try to get into bed by about 9:30 or 10 in the morning. And then I find I'll usually sleep until about 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon. And then I get up and have a nice breakfast and then go for a walk. And sometimes if I get up earlier, I might squeeze in a workout before my night shift because I find that just helps to like wake me up, get me energized. And then I go in for nights. But again, it's just depending how I feel. If I didn't sleep that well and I'm kind of sluggish and I'm just like, you know what, I'll just, because then you have those 5 days off, and I usually will work out all my 5 days off.
And I think honestly that's a great mindset, because if it's not there, there's no point trying to force it, because you know that just creates the opportunity to have an injury or also put yourself in a much worse mood, right?
It is exactly. And you already know that, like thinking ahead, you're like, I already got to work 12 hours. I'm going to just drain all of the energy that I have on this workout.
Spending time with the dog and going for a nice walk could be just as impactful as trying to put yourself through a workout. You know, like getting that fresh air is really some sunlight, and fresh air is going to just be much better of an impact. Okay. So like honestly, I'm not perfect either, right? Like I know in my videos, like I share my routine, but my routine doesn't also give me the concrete perfect recipe to, right. And I try to stick to a routine, like you said, like you have as well. You wake up, you walk the dog, right? Like that's your routine. And I think a lot of us don't have those kind of routines established, right? So it's good that you have something that like you look forward to. You look forward to being with your dog. You look forward to going to have that walk. So like that's what I've done with my sleeping as well. Is like I try to set up where I look forward to coming home and reading my book and taking my shower, and just setting up something that it's like a reward for the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. Oh, and there was the other thing too. I know you had a couple of the tips. Like I use the face mask. I can't even sleep at night now without my face mask. Like I absolutely love it. Right. And I've got the blackout curtains, of course. Nice. I've got a diffuser, which I put I'm not like a crazy like oils person, but I do love the lavender oil. I actually do find it very soothing. So I have the diffuser on. Beautiful. And the white noise. I always have the fan.
Awesome. Okay. No, it's a good routine. I respect that. You do not win the poster child status. So you're in the clear. Okay. Let's get into nutrition now. Like, do you have a routine lunch that you bring with you for your 12-hour shift? Like how strict is your nutrition like?
Yeah, I have the same breakfast that I prep for when I work my day shifts. I make this nice big overnight oatmeal bowl. So
that's what's up. Nice.
Yeah, I have it really down pat. It's got oats, flaxseed, chia seed, protein powder, almond milk, a scoop of almond butter. Let that sit in the fridge, and then in the morning I'll add. I just scoop out some frozen blueberries, banana, and I top it with a little bit of like a little sprinkle of granola, just some crunch. So that's usually my go-to breakfast, because I find, especially as a nurse's schedule, our breaks are very, you get your break when it comes. So, which is very difficult, because I'm normally, when I'm on my off days, I'm just like a snacker. Like I'll have something to eat, and then a couple hours later have something to eat. And like, I'm just, very consistent with eating. But, that was the biggest thing when I started working, was that I had to sort of shift that to like, okay, it's, 10 in the morning, and I don't typically usually eat before I go to work. If I'm really hungry in the morning, I might, but I typically just don't. I have my breakfast at work. So,
how much longer after you wake up, you eat your first breakfast?
I would say, hopefully I get my morning break by about 10 in the morning.
Okay. So you do like a fast basically.
Exactly. Essentially.
Cool.
And I just again, that's another thing that I've just found works better for me. I just have a nice big liter of water before I go into work. And I know you've cut out coffee, so good for you. I have not. I need one coffee a day. So I have, like I say, I have a liter of water before I leave. And again, I just started doing that, probably in the last couple of years, because I don't always get a lot of time to drink water. So I'm like, well, at least if I've had a whole liter before I go in, I've at least downed 1 liter. So so I always have a liter of water before I go. And that's just while I'm getting ready and after I've gone for my walk. And then I take my coffee and then I'll have my breakfast around 10 and that's my oatmeal bowl. My lunches usually consist of usually like chicken breast and sweet potato and vegetables. Or I have this sort of go-to that I make, which is like a skillet type of thing, which is ground turkey and quinoa rice and some vegetable that I all kind of mix in. Or I'll make like a big salad, whatever I'm prepping. So I kind of rotate through a few different meals and hopefully I'll get my lunch break around 2 in the afternoon. And then if I get a late third break, which doesn't typically happen, I bring like a Daryl's bar and an apple or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, that sounds perfect. Like you're giving yourself the energy that you need, the carbs, and you're trying to hit your protein. Like I can't imagine what it's like being an ER nurse, especially. I'm sure it must be crazy. So, you know, the way that you're trying to prepare your shift is like, okay, what are the foods that are going to allow me to, you know, be at my peak mentally and physically, right? Like I'm assuming you're on your feet for probably 11 hours.
Exactly. Absolutely. Exactly. And it's not unusual for me to sometimes go to sit down to eat my lunch and my, you know, whoever I'm working with that day, my partner, to come back and be like, well, we're getting a trauma, we're getting this, someone's coming in having a heart attack, like you have to come back. So, okay, my lunch goes down and I go running back, right? And then, okay, hopefully I'll come back to it. So
you get little nibbles in, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Was this something that you had concrete from the very beginning, or is there some foods that you had to test and trial to see what worked for you best?
Absolutely. Yeah. So exactly. This is only now, I would say I've had this kind of set little plan over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years. I used to play around. Sometimes I would have had, and my nutrition has just gotten better as I've prioritized it and became more aware of it. And joining F45 is a huge impact on that, just given that, you know, they are all very eager to teach. And, you know, Andy, especially in their Instagram stories and all that with the challenges and nutrition, it just became something I became more interested in. Like if I was to look back at what I would eat 6 years ago before, you know, when I first started nursing to what I'm eating now, is completely different, just, based on what my goals and how they changed and my knowledge on, you know, macronutrients. And I don't count or anything like that. I did probably a few years ago. I had done it for a little bit, but then you just kind of get into okay, I understand how much there is in this and that. And it's just easier now for me to build meals and know how much protein I need and things like that and what I feel better eating. So, and then usually, after my day shift, I come home and I don't usually have a big dinner because by the time I get in, shower, et cetera, it's sometimes about 8 p.m. and I don't like to have, again, that's another trial and error thing. I used to, when I lived at home, you know, my mom would have had a big pasta dinner made and I'd sit down to a huge bowl of spaghetti and it would be delicious. But at 10 p.m. when you're crawling into bed, you don't feel so great after eating that. So usually I have something like I'll make an omelet, like eggs and toast, or apple and peanut butter, or I like cottage cheese and toast, stuff like that. So I'll usually, again, just another like protein carb kind of thing. That's a little bit lighter. And those are usually my go-to snacks, a yogurt bowl, something like that.
Okay, awesome. Do you find that you have a hard time with cravings by any chance?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Especially, and I don't know what it's like when you're at work on nights, but definitely on nights. And nurses, you think as being a healthcare professional, nurses would be better, but we're really not. And the doctors are worse.
Oh,
they're
really?
the first to be like, 2 a.m, let's order pizza. Let's, Uber Eats some McFlurries for all the nurses, like all that stuff. So
temptations.
Exactly. So for me to stick with it. And again, another thing that I've really played around with is actually, I guess, kind of doing a fast on my night shifts as well. So I will bring, and I eat, we hopefully will get a break between 9 and 11, like our first break, our dinner break. But I don't really eat dinner there. I will eat dinner before I go in for my night. So if I have my nap, I get up, let's say around 4 or 5, I have a dinner here at home. Okay. Something that I find that I make a little bit of a bigger meal. Not something heavy, but just, again, something like chicken and potato or sweet potato and vegetable, or a nice like hearty salad with, chickpeas and all of that. And then
something your body like recognizes, right?
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
Exactly. And that I know will digest well as well. And then I will have just something light. Or if I don't have a heavy dinner, I might just bring something like a can of tuna and toast, or veggies and hummus, or some nuts and things like that for my last break. And then usually I don't like to eat after 11 p.m. I just find I do better, and I don't have caffeine on night shifts at all. I drink green tea. I guess green tea you could say, or peppermint tea, but
the caffeine is much lower in those. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no, and I don't drink coffee on night shift.
How did you learn that? Or is that also something from trial and error?
Exactly. Trial and error from that as well. I just found it would give me just wicked bloat, heartburn, just trying things, like taking things out. And I finally was like, maybe it's the coffee, because I played around with so many things I was eating, and it doesn't sit well with me.
It's interesting how the body gives you signals or tells you, like, there's always like a little voice in your head that's saying, you know what if you just remove this, you might feel better. And it kind of, it's very weird how, if you become very self-aware, you listen to these voices or these indicators that suggest maybe take out the coffee, maybe don't, do this or eat this certain food. It's something I feel a lot of us really need to become more aware of. And like, I don't know how you train something like that, but when you're curious about a certain substance or food that you're eating, that's like, hey, you need to cut this out. It might be a good indicator. And that's great that you have mentioned that you cut coffee out at night. And that's something that I have mentioned to my coworkers, Erin as well. Like, it's funny, her last night shift, she's like, I'm craving a coffee. I'm like, babe, do not do it.
Don't do it.
Do not do it. Do not get into a habit of it. As like, you're going to thank me in the long run. She's like, I'm not thanking you right now. And I was like, I get it. You're having withdrawals from the caffeine.
It really is.
How you're speaking to me right now is the caffeine speaking.
It's the irritability from the caffeine withdrawal. Exactly.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So no, it's great. I'm happy you mentioned that. For me, I took out the coffee, especially off of night shifts, or not having it on my night shifts, because I found that, I don't know what it was. I think there was a night shift that I had no coffee, and I woke up the next day and my mind wasn't cloudy. I wasn't like having like a foggy mindset or like that zombie, like, withdrawal syndrome. I don't even know what to call it. Is this something you experience as well? Like cloudy mindedness when you wake up? I don't know what the right word is.
Like
a fog.
A fog. Yeah. You just feel like, I mean, people can't see this, but I'm like waving my hand in front of my face. Like you just feel like there's something in front of you the whole day. And yes, I get the fog all the time. I especially get it. So in order to turn myself back around, I will, after my second night, get to bed relatively quickly. I will only usually just kind of like take the dog out. I won't do a full walk, take her out, come back, and I go to bed, hopefully by about 8:30. And I usually will force myself to get up by about 11:30, 12. So I only sleep a very small amount. But then that night I'm in bed by like 8, 9 p.m. And then I sleep for like 12 hours basically. And I just that's just how I've adapted, because I found if I still let myself sleep until 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon after that second night, because you're more tired after working your second night. So I feel like I could sleep better after my second. But then I've just kind of really messed myself up, and I'd much rather get to bed early and just catch up on all the sleep I've missed, so I can get back to my routine that first day off. And I like to get up and go to the gym and do all those things. So that's just awesome. But that day after I've worked, and I think it's compounded from, the last 4 12-hour shifts, but especially that your last shift is a night shift. That day I'm just in a fog. I don't put anything important on that day after my night.
Of course not.
Or I try not to anyways. Yeah. It's usually like a stay in the house, clean the apartment kind of a day, laundry.
Time for yourself.
Exactly. Nothing too responsible required. because I'm not all there, and everybody knows it. And usually my mood is kind of like, don't do anything to set me off.
I hear you 100%. I hear you. I had to pre-warn Aaron. I'm like, the days I come off night shift, I had to sit serious. Like the days I come off night, I'm not myself. So you need to just
my boyfriend knows too. Everything is to be in order. Right.
Yes,
if I said that has to be put away, put it away.
Please.
You will hear about
if
it.
I say don't listen to me. If you value your life. Do you take any supplements? For your sleep, for prepping for sleep?
For my sleep, no. And that's one thing. I know I'd messaged you and I was like, oh, you mentioned the magnesium, and it was somebody else had been talking about magnesium and trying that. And a lot of other people have suggested like other things, but I really don't want to get into like the melatonin or the medications. Like I've just never wanted to depend on medicine to help me sleep. But that's just me personally. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking one melatonin between a night shift to once a week to sleep. You're really not going to develop any kind of dependency on that. But it's just my personal choice. I just never wanted to take medicine. But I would like to try to incorporate magnesium. One of the things that you had suggested, just because you're not the first one that I've heard to suggest it. And I've read a lot about it and that it can really help with recovery and helping the body to relax and insomnia and all those kinds of things. So that would be something. Now, but do you take it consistently? Do you take it every day or just when you're working nights?
Yeah, no, I take it consistency. So the main reason why I started taking magnesium is I did a Viome test. So it's a gut intelligent test. And they also have a gene intelligent test. So you'd send in your blood sample as well. I think it's gene or something. My results came back and they said I need to be taking about 650 milligrams of magnesium.
Right.
So I was already taking it before the test came in, but I did some research up on it as well, just to look at the benefits of it for recovery and sleep and stuff. And it's funny that my results came back being like, yo, you are lacking magnesium. You need it, just because, with how much stress I put on the body with training for my triathlon and just weightlifting and all that stuff, right? We're depleting a lot of these nutrients that we need in our body, and just over time it gets lower and lower and lower the more you don't refill it, right? So it goes to show you how important magnesium is for everybody, especially if you do intensive training. Like, I mean, F45 is not an easy walk through the park. That's pretty, their classes are hard, right? So I feel like maybe getting some blood work done, or doing something like the Viome test that I did to get some information back on like how much magnesium you should be taking, or what other supplements that might help you help benefit you with work and stuff. But I've seen enormous results with my mood, my libido, my sleep, just the feeling of waking up from my sleep and feeling well rested since I've started to incorporate or increase the amount of magnesium that I have taken. So I could definitely say the benefits of it has been very beneficial.
And it's funny that you should mention that, because one of the things I also read that it's really good for is, in terms of hormones, I have really bad hormonal headaches always during the week of my period. Awful. But I've heard that magnesium is also something that's really, really good for that. And it could be an indicator that I'm depleted in that way as well. It's just another thing that when you had mentioned libido, that I just cued me to think it really helps a lot with hormones as well. So that was just something else that it's worth for me to look into, just because I think, like you say, when you run your body down and you're lacking in sleep and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you ever get this as well, but from working night shifts, I read a lot about, and that was just one thing. I mean, I would never say that I gained a lot of weight when I first started working, but I did gain some, because when you're in that middle of your night shift and you get this, I don't know, I call it stomach rot. Like you get this kind of weird feeling in your stomach. Like it's not quite hunger, but I thought it was hunger, and I would eat and eat and eat, and not eating unhealthy, but just still eating too much. Like and that was why I just kind of moved into this like fast, because I just wanted to, when your normal schedule, you have that natural fast when you go to bed and you don't eat for the next 9-10 hours. And you lose that when you're working a night shift. And so that was why I kind of started doing that, because it just helped my body to feel normal again, and have that sort of fast. But I read a lot is that when your body is lacking in sleep and you actually release a type of hormone, which is a hunger hormone. And that's what that is called. Exactly. That's what it's called. Yes, ghrelin. Thank you. And that is kind of that's why you feel that stomach rot, but it's not really that you're like hungry. It's your body releasing these hormones from just being so depleted on sleep.
Right.
So, so like it really, that's another thing that I find people don't think about so much or talk about much with shift workers is what it does to your hormones, and how much that can really affect, how it really can affect people. I think not enough people realize is your hormones. But
especially
that was my own little tangent there. Exactly.
No, that's great. That's great that you're sharing that, because I know I don't know if I don't think I'm aware of my hormone deficiencies. Like I said, like libido, like there's not days like I'm like raring or like feeling any sort of intimacy or whatnot. Like, but when it comes down to like foods is like, I cut it off at 12 o'clock. Like if it gets into that point where like I'm craving different things, like, it's like, too bad, bro. You're drinking water and tea, like suck it up. But I do get, I guess you could say GI issues. Like my stomach has, this is another reason why I did the Viome test. Like my stomach has not been the same. There's a lot of foods that I've been very sensitive to lately.
Right.
And it like if I eat a lot of foods in one sitting, my stomach just goes to whack. Like I have to really make sure that I'm keeping the amount of food that I'm eating very, very small, like just to be satisfied and not overdo it. But since I've started doing shift work, my stomach has not been the same at all.
I get that.
So to kind of compliment you on the hormones that like, that's something new I've never heard about. And I'm going to have to do some research up on that.
Yeah. No, I think it's something that I spent a lot of time reading about just because I found,
please, if you could share any of that information with me, I would love to educate myself on it, because I think that's good to know, especially with Erin, right, to help her out. But one thing that she has started to incorporate is iron. Yes, I know that's another one that I need to get my levels tested. It's because exactly like you say, especially as a woman, it's probably more common than not that I'm probably iron deficient, right? Especially
or
so
some
active.
kind. Exactly. So and good for her for doing that, because I'm sure that would be a huge beneficial thing.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing on those there. Let's get into training and then F45. So when it comes down to your fitness, is there any goals that you're trying to achieve right now, or is it just simply trying to stay healthy? And, I mean, I'm sure you still have I'm the gymnastics Katelyn, and now I'm the nurse Katelyn. They're obviously two people, but you still wish you had the physique and energy of the gymnastic.
Absolutely. I think my goals probably shifted more from, they're not really, like weight loss or necessarily muscle goals. Like I'm always looking to be more fit, but that's more in terms of like what I can do when I'm at F45, in terms of like how many pull-ups I'm doing, how many box jumps I'm doing, or like, always kind of just pushing myself in that specific way. But I'm not, at this point, still obviously doing gymnastics or training for anything specific. So it's always usually for me, I have always loved health and fitness. So for me, it's just always maintaining the best that I can be. And just always learning. It's now something that's become, I guess it's kind of a hobby of mine, really, because I love to read about nutrition and cooking. I love to cook. I love to cook healthy meals. So I'm always reading about, what are healthy substitutes, or what can I make? Like, how can I create this meal that I love, but do it in a healthier way and in a way that still tastes good. My boyfriend can attest that I'm very good at making things taste good that are still healthy, and he has no idea. So,
okay, that's good.
Yes.
Big one.
Exactly. So I'll just hide those little things in there. But No. So yeah, it's just now become all these kind of hobby. And that was why I kind of shifted into this, becoming a trainer, was because, so Justin and Andy had actually asked me, like I say, it was before COVID. So well over a year and a half ago, if I would
I think I was there for that when they had mentioned that.
Yeah, probably.
I was like, get her.
Yeah. And, at the time I thought I was, no, I'm too busy. I don't want to do it. And then, you're now sitting at home, COVID, we're deep into COVID. And,
right.
I'm thinking like, well, what else do I want to do? What do I want to and I started just Googling online course. And then most of the trainer courses were online, obviously. And I just kind of on a whim signed up for it. And I remember my boyfriend, Justin, came home and I was like, so I'm doing this course. He's like, oh, is that what you want to do? I'm like, I think so. I think I want to try. Like, I think I could really be good at it. And when I was in high school, actually, after I finished gymnastics, I actually coached children gymnastics as well. And I loved that job. It was the best high school job ever. Just because, you're working with kids and doing a sport that I loved. And so I was just like, I loved doing that. I'm sure that this could sort of transfer to that. And it has. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm really looking forward to now that we'll get to reopen and actually really, because I had only done, I think, 6-7 classes maybe before we had to shut down again. And I've been doing the outdoor, which I'm having a lot of fun with, but no, yeah. So it's been good to now be involved on that side as well. And just add in another little fun side job.
No, that's great. Cause like you mentioned, like you have like 5 days off, right? And what harm is there squeezing, 2-3 hours out of your day and your 5-day off schedule to come and to teach. And it's nice with that 45 that, it's a part-time gig. I mean, if you want to make it full time, the option is there, have your own gym manager, et cetera. Right. But it's nice to kind of fill in the time. And like you had mentioned, you really enjoyed teaching. You really enjoyed being around the kids and the fact that you are just so caring and, willing to put in the effort to see other people be successful and share the knowledge that you have learned over time is what F45 is all about. Right. And you fit the role as a coach perfectly. And it's great that, you're willing to find some time in your, life to work at the gym and still have energy to do other things. Cause like I said, I don't know what it's like to be an ER nurse and like, I'm sure the whole entire shift, you're just giving the whole entire time, right, to those people that need it. And the fact that, I guess as well, like that's also a different type of reward. Like I'm sure you're not like sitting back, like, oh, like I feel really good. I helped this person, but you just know that person is going down a different, darker path where when you go to the gym, you help somebody, you're like, okay, like they're healthy, they're moving forward.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I could kind of sit
health.
back. Yeah. Different kind of health. Like you could kind of sit back and breathe a little bit easier about the energy that you've given to that person. You know what I mean? Cause you give somebody help in the ER, you're just like, I don't know what way that's going to go. So I'm sure like that's a little bit like more stressful, like compared to helping somebody at the gym where you're like, okay, good. They're healthy. They're good. Like, it's a little bit more like sense of joy that way, I guess. Right. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yes. No, I can completely understand. Yeah. And and it's exactly how I feel for sure.
Okay. So what drives you what drives your motivation? What keeps you motivated to continue to train and, be at the gym?
I would say the feeling that you get after, working out is something for me. Health and fitness and exercise and nutrition are all just priorities of mine. They're passions of mine. So it's very easy for me to stay motivated because it's something I'm very interested in. It's something I really enjoy. Obviously everybody has their days. Of course, there's still days I just like everybody else will wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't know that I really want to do this, but you just kind of give yourself that small reminder, like, but you know how good you're going to feel after you just like get it done. And then you can come home and have your nice healthy breakfast that you enjoy and this and that. And same with nutrition. I mean, I would say not battled, but, in a way. So obviously growing up doing gymnastics, you kind of are in a sport that's very, aesthetic based, and nutrition is obviously very important. And like I say, when I started working, I kind of shifted away from that and lost a little bit of that. But then in the last, I would say 3 years, kind of found myself again and really prioritized it. And sometimes you can swing too far in the wrong direction. So I really just try to always maintain that balance, and not, beat myself up if it's a Friday night and you want to go out and have a nice dinner. And then, you just wake up Saturday and you get back to normal. Or if you go away for a weekend to a cottage and, you have some drinks and have some snacks, and like, that's okay, because you're just, I'm committed to my nutrition and my fitness, and it's just getting back on track when you come back. But that's something that is not, I say it very easily right now, but it's not something that was always very easy for me. And mentally, it used to be that kind of battle inside your head, like, oh, I can't go, I can't go out for dinner because what am I going to eat? And I'm just going to mess everything up. I've, been so consistent lately, but, I really think that it's everything in moderation and balance for me is what definitely keeps me motivated, and something that I strive for, because I think there's, there can always be too much of a good thing, but it's good to stay committed as well.
Awesome. Hey, you know what? I more people need to see things that way as well, right? Because there doesn't always have to be, being on one side where you're just like hardcore, go nonstop, everything needs to be cut out, like, because that just adds more stress. It doesn't benefit you.
Right.
And then when you do have those days that you do let loose, you start, mentally hurting yourself. And it's just like, when you find that balance, the world is a much easier place to live in, right?
Exactly.
And I'm on the exact same page. Like, yeah, I know I train for triathlons and everything, and my training is long, but like, if I miss a day, like, it's okay. Like I need the recovery. Obviously, if my body and my mind is saying, yo, take a break, I'm going to take that break.
That's right.
Okay. So to add with the balance and the mental stuff, have you experienced any mental health challenges that you're open to share with, being a shift worker, a nurse, and then, your training and health and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I would say definitely, like, I never want to, overstate, because I am lucky that I have, good friends and family and stuff. So I've always been able, it's not something I'm, it's ever easy to talk about, but, like I say, it's one of those things that sometimes if there's too much of a good thing. And I would say, when I did kind of get into a little bit of the, tracking, but this is not that's why I have mixed feelings about it. So I wouldn't trade the time that I spent tracking and counting macros and calories and all that stuff, because it really gave me a foundation of, like, when I first started, I was eating, I think I had tracked a couple of days and found I was eating 40 grams of protein. And really, based on my size, I try to have 115, 120 grams of protein.
Surprising how much you need.
Really how much you need. So in that sense, like I say, it was such a valuable experience, because you really actually understand, what am I eating and what is in what I'm eating. But then sometimes, I have, I guess, maybe you could say an obsessive personality. And so it would just became too much. And then it got to the point where I was getting anxiety or nervous about going out for dinner, because how am I going to track that? I have no idea how many calories that is. I don't know what's in that. And that's just going to, this one meal when I go out for pizza is going to just throw everything off. Or, and it was beyond just a little bit of anxiety. It was to the point where no, I'd cancel plans, and I'd be like, no, I can't go out for dinner. Which is then now becoming unhealthy. Right. And I'm, trying to maintain this healthy lifestyle. And so I guess I would say the way that I kind of I shouldn't say cured myself, but just kind of helped myself to get out of that mindset was just to remind myself why I'm doing everything. Why am I doing this? And it's because I love to exercise, and fitness has always been a part of my life since I was 3 years old. And I'm doing it because I can. I'm lucky that I'm able to. I do it because I love it. I love how I feel. And I eat healthy meals because I enjoy them, but also, remembering that food is, very much as it is for function, it's also a part of culture and life. I mean, absolutely. That is right. You have to an experience. So for me to be cutting that out, because I was scared of eating a pizza. I had to kind of, bring myself to that. So that was definitely something it was probably about a year ago, maybe. And I think it was a lot fueled more by the pandemic. It's funny because a lot of people say their nutrition kind of went out the window with the pandemic, but I wasn't eating or drinking out or doing anything. So I'd kind of been like so consistent and really had kind of just doing the home workouts had, lost my weight and found that I was getting, stronger. And then when things started opening up again and going out again, almost caused me more anxiety because I'm like, oh my God, I've done so well all this time. And so it was just funny, but so like I say, it's not
Very
something
true.
that I think is like that I overly struggled with or anything like that, but it's definitely something that mentally I had to kind of just bring myself back to and remind myself, that I, my own, I guess, slogan is just balance and making sure that, everything is in moderation. And
that's good. No, it's good. You have pillars that, like it has one pillar is nutrition, your, sleep, your routine and et cetera, right? Is making sure that they all aren't, one pillar isn't higher than the other and making sure everything's nice and balanced. So, that's awesome. That's a great way to, promote a healthy longevity, lifespan of just, healthy routines and just like you said, controlling your stress levels and stuff like that. Cause like your job is very stressful, right? So when you have these systems in place that, like you said, you're not beating yourself up, you have a good understanding of what foods you need. And like, for how much you do train and how much you're on your feet, your body probably needs those little extra calories that you're getting, and it's okay, right?
Exactly.
And that's something too, is you enjoy life. You don't want to, be the hermit or the granny, like you said, right? You want to get out with your friends, enjoy a beer and stuff like that. And you need it. You need those moments of rebound, because it's not like you're doing it every single day and every single weekend, right? So when you're doing it like that, okay, then that's when you could kind of take a step back and be like, okay, maybe I need to change my lifestyle a little bit. But no, it's a summertime. We've all been stuck in the house for the past 2 years. Yeah, no. And that's good that you realize that. All right, let's go into the final questions. We're getting close to that hour mark there. What is one piece of advice you can give our listeners? And I guess you already covered that, but I'll let you cover it.
So in terms of, like I was going to ask you, health and fitness, or shift working, or
shift working for sure. Yeah, definitely shift working.
So I would say preparation is a really good tip. So I always, the day before my shifts start, I prep my little oatmeal bowls, or I'll spend, an afternoon making my lunches. And depending on my schedule, like I always will pick my prep day. So sometimes if my set starts on a Monday and I know I'm going to have a busy Sunday or a busy weekend, I'll prep the date like 2 days before and make sure I've got everything, in the fridge ready to go. And it's funny, when my boyfriend moved in, he made fun of me for that. But then he was like, oh, if you're making some of those oatmeal bowls, you want to throw a couple of those together for me, So because then,
what are you doing? You want to come help me?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But he was like, no, it's like he noticed that, that kind of a routine, and then I'm good to go for, all my days at work. And it's something healthy that I enjoy. And I'm, set myself up on a good note for work.
Good.
So preparation, I think, would be a good tip for shift working, and just recognizing your body. I think there's nothing wrong with trying something, and if it doesn't work, try something else. Like I say, 100%. I'm only now 6 years working shifts, and I still make changes, and I still, saw your account and was like, oh, more tips and tricks. Okay, what does he do? Like, I'm always looking at what other people do. And you had posted, awesome. I think, like a reel from another account that I think you must follow, and I followed her because I was like, oh, she's a shift work dietitian. Like, oh, I wonder what she might suggest, and any good tips like she might have. So I don't think there's anything wrong with trying something, and if it doesn't work for you, but also recognizing that not everybody is the same. So you might be able to, someone might be able to drink coffee all night and feel great, and that's good for you, but it wasn't good for me. And just recognizing your body and how you feel and the symptoms that you have after doing certain things. So I know you had said, sometimes you'd have that, bloat, or like I sometimes had some bloat from certain things. Like I found certain raw green vegetables, like in the middle of the night, not good. So, don't eat those in the middle of the night or things like that. So yeah, you just have to play around with it.
So basically educating yourself, right? Not even just about yourself. Like I'm sure that's a boom one, but just doing the research and, you know, understanding what other people are doing and a lot of trial and error. And, you know, I preach that as well, is like, try it. If it doesn't work, okay, try something else and don't give up just because one thing doesn't work.
That's
and
right.
Like, don't forget about the things that you've tried, because you might have to come back to them and try them again. And like I feel that's so true. Like is educate yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. What is something you wish you could have told yourself when you first started shift work?
Oh man. I guess it would be, not to maybe underestimate it. I really think I underestimated how difficult it might be. Because it's the flipping back and forth and like you said, that brain fog that really nobody, until you start working shifts, people might say they understand like, oh, I'm feeling tired. You really don't understand brain fog, like someone that's worked a full night shift and is trying to turn back around. Like you really don't. So definitely not to underestimate it. I think would be might be my tip my advice to myself. And, I think that's it.
Okay. Awesome. No, that's great. That was perfect. Katelyn, thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
Like I say, I was very, very honored when you said you wanted to do a podcast with me. So this has been super fun.
Honestly, like when it came down to coaching you, you were a powerhouse, and I was like, yo, this girl works shift. I was like, I work shifts, and like she would kick my ass. Like, yo, trust me. Like I would watch your athleticism in the class, and I'm just like, I wouldn't be able to keep up. I just wouldn't be able to. And like you are very fit. Like you have kept your physique, and you know, like I would ask you, you'd be like, I'd ask you, like, how much sleep have you had? You're like, 3 hours. And you're in the class smashing it, the heaviest weights that any girl in the class could lift. And you're just like going to town. And like, I would get maybe 4 hours of sleep, and I'm like, I'm not looking at a weight. I'm not doing nothing. Right. So you have motivated me. And that's why I felt like you would be a great person to talk to. And then once I saw you become a coach, I'm like, wow, she's adding more to her plate. Like this is very inspiring and motivating. And I think, other people need to hear, like, shift work isn't always negative. Like you said, you would never go back to the 9 to 5. Right. Like I said, 80% of the time we would want to stay with our shifts now, but absolutely. Like, it gives you the freedom to do these other endeavors and still be able to train at peak. But you have to do some trial and error, and you need to figure out what works best for you. And you know what, like you said, it's a forever revolving door of different things coming in and things going out. So it's great that, you're continuing to educate yourself, and you're willing to help other people. And that's why I wanted to get you on the podcast. So thank you again for taking time out of your day to chat with me.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for all that you're putting out too for shift workers, because like I say, I've been watching all the videos. I love seeing you and Aaron train. All that stuff is so inspiring to me too. You guys, like for your one to talk, you guys are both powerhouses with your running, your biking, your swimming, like all of it is very impressive. And keep putting those videos out because I enjoy them.
I will not give up. This has been a fun journey so far. Like I get to talk to people like you and hear your feedback. So yes, once again, thank you so much, Katelyn. And I'll let you get on with your day. Have yourself a great class this evening. And listeners, if you do want to get your butt whooped, please head down to Hamilton F45, and Katelyn will be there to take care of you, guide you along the way, and give you a phenomenal workout. All right, Katelyn, thank you so much.
Thanks, Spencer.
Wow, what a phenomenal first podcast. Thank you, Katelyn Swenner, for joining me today, for being my first guest on my podcast. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, please share it with your fellow shift workers. Also, please don't forget to subscribe. You can find me on YouTube as well under the name of The Shift Work Athlete, and also on all other social media platforms. Thank you once again for listening. I hope you guys have yourself a good one. Peace.